Hi everyone, thank you for choosing Levit to scout this year's game. In this video, we'll show you how to set up Lovat Collection, then walk you through scouting a match. It's important that every scouter on your team watches the entirety of this video before scouting. If you're leading your team scouting, please show it ahead of time. And if you're a scouter, you're in the right place. If you've scouted with Levit before, you'll probably already be logged in. If not, go ahead and download Lovat Collection from the App Store or Play Store. Once you've installed the app, open it and tap Begin. You'll be prompted for your team's code. This is different from your team number. It's a 6-digit code of numbers and letters which you can get from your team captain, your scouting lead, or a mentor. If you're a scouting lead, this code can be found in Levit Dashboard. Just go to the top right of the settings page. Next, there will be a list of people who have scouted on your team on Lovat Collection in the past. If you're on the list, select your name. Otherwise, you can add yourself. You should also set the tournament you're at. You have now successfully joined your team. Welcome! Use the gear icon in the top right to go to Settings. Here you can set the field orientation based on which side of the field you're on. Select Auspicious for blue on the left, and Sinister for red on the left. There's quite a story behind these names. I won't get into it today. Enable training mode if you're testing the app or training scouters and want to use it without uploading data. It'll disable the submit button and force you to discard any data you record. At the bottom of the page, you can delete all settings, match history, and data to reset the app to its initial state. On the home page, if you currently have a scouter schedule assigned to you, you can just scroll to the match. But if you want to scout a match that wasn't assigned to you by a scouting lead, you can tap Enter Match Details manually and enter all of the information about the match, such as if it's a qualifier or an elimination. Be sure to thoroughly check all of the information because if any of it is incorrect, you won't be able to upload your scout report once you're done. If everything looks right, tap Scout this match to begin scouting. You'll notice quickly that the collection page is highly contextual. At any given moment, you're offered controls to record only what's relevant, what robots are capable of, and what's available to observe. Before the match starts, select the area that best corresponds to the robot's starting position. This could be in front of one of the trenches, one of the bumps, or next to the hub. When you see the gates close or hear the MC start to count down, pay attention. Tap the start button as you hear the sound indicating the start of the match, so you can sync Levit's timer to the field timer. We track the robot's actions much more precisely during auto, so you really need to lock in for the first 20 seconds. Each of these colored buttons represents one action that the robot performs. For example, if the robot crosses into the neutral zone, tap the corresponding purple button for where they crossed. Once it's in the neutral zone, if the robot tries to crash into the field to scatter it, tap the blue bomb button. Or, for intaking in the neutral zone, tap this yellow button. All those buttons are just a single tap, but for shooting fuel, that would make things impossibly difficult to keep track of. Pay attention to this part, because it's probably going to be the hardest part of scouting this year. When the robot scores in the hub, hold down the green hexagon and drag outwards. By default, your drag distance determines how fast balls are scored. The farther you drag, the faster the count goes up. In the app settings, there's also an option where your distance determines the count of balls that are shot. So the farther you drag, the more balls are scored. You should try both to see what you feel most comfortable with. Each time the count goes up, you'll feel a haptic tap. So when you drag, do your best to match the rate of taps you feel to the rate of balls being shot on the field. In order to determine ball rate, we're also keeping track of how long you've held down the button for. So try to synchronize when you start and stop pressing the button to when the robot starts and stops shooting. It takes plenty of practice to get used to this, so I recommend training on match videos. Let's take a look at some more field actions. If the robot shoots fuel from the neutral zone to its alliance side so that other teams can score it, drag the feeding icon. If the robot uses the outpost, tap the yellow flag, then answer whether it intakes or outtakes. Finally, if the robot climbs during auto, tap the purple button on the tower. When the Teleop period begins, the page will automatically transition. The Teleop period includes the same actions for scoring and feeding pieces, but now there isn't a button to intake fuel unless the robot intakes from the outpost. I really want to emphasize that this yellow flag button is only for intaking from the outpost or putting fuel into the corral. Defense is another difficult metric to collect. While the robot you are scouting is making contact with an opposing team to intentionally pin or hit it, use the gray shield button. Last year, this was just a single tap, but this year, you'll need to hold it down for the duration the robot is playing defense. If the robot is camping by a trench or ramp in order to intentionally block an opposing robot's access to it, press and hold the blue camping button. If the robot climbs at the end of the match, tap the purple button on the tower. It'll appear in the last 30 seconds of the match. If you make a mistake at any time, you'll always have an undo button available. When you hear the buzzer, tap the button to end the match. Now, even though the match is over, you aren't quite done. You now have several additional pieces of information to provide. The descriptions are pretty detailed, so I'll just give a few pointers. You want to make sure you're selecting options that you observed only in this specific match. For example, let's say this match, the robot crossed over only the bump, but you know from a previous match that they're short enough to go under the trench. You wouldn't select trench because it didn't go under the trench this match. The notes field is optional and should be used to add additional information that isn't reflected in other data. For example, saying that the robot scored lots of fuel isn't necessary, as this can be seen from other data you have already entered. Instead, use this field for things the app doesn't have existing controls for, like a long shooting range or evading a certain robot's defense well. Once you're satisfied with all of your responses, tap Submit. Now, the app will try to automatically upload data through your cell service or Wi-Fi. We know that connection is often spotty at tournaments, which is not a problem. As you can see here, the upload fails. When this happens, have a scouting lead from your team scan the QR code with Levit dashboard, or, if they're not available, tap Done and upload it later from the history page, found in the top left corner of the homepage. You can also find all the matches you've previously scouted from the history page. Thanks again for using Levit, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us at levit@frc8033.com.